All right. So Mo, why don't you go ahead and I've heard that you were able to work on this over the past week, and so you've had a little bit of issues, and I'd love to take a look at what you've got so far and to debug. But before we do that, Mo, before we do that, why don't we take a look at the Jira board and take a look at our outstanding tickets? How's that sound? Why don't we do
Yes,
that first?
I have my screen up if you wanna.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to take a look at your screen, and why don't you let me know on the status of that of those two tickets?
Okay. So my ticket is very much still in progress. As mentioned, it's a big learning curve for me. And what I've done so far is I we were told to clone the project. We were told to create an endpoint that returns a JSON file. We were told to create our own branch and implement a curl request that you sent us. And then lastly, we were supposed to replicate the endpoint and see if we could get a list of all the stores and their associated return values. And so I'm currently I already completed the first one. I cloned the project. I'm currently working on the last two. As mentioned, I worked on my own separate Spring Boot project in which I was able to return a JSON file, and so
Okay.
I thought that I would be able to, easily do that in this project, but alas, I was not able to. So if you could just show me, I'll pull up my IntelliJ.
Sure.
So, and this is my branch, Mo's
Mo's
branch.
branch.
Yeah.
Quick thing, Mo's branch is very fun, but the problem with it is that later on, if we have multiple tickets, for example, Mo's
Mhm.
branch, especially if you're merging it back into develop, and we see that you've merged a commit, and it just says Mo's branch, we don't really know exactly what you did, and so we can always see who merged in. It will say like Mo merged this branch in, but just for future reference, I would change it your branch name from Mo's branch to KAN-4 or KAN-5, whatever the ticket number is, just so we know exactly, we can cross reference and know exactly what your commit does.
Okay, could I do that now?
Mm,
Rename.
If you could, I'm not sure if you could push to origin. You might have to delete the origin branch name and then repush. If it's just locally, you can definitely rename it. But yes,
Oh, um,
go for it. Try it out and see what happens. I don't think it'll break anything, so you'll be
and
okay.
what was the ticket number again?
K can 4. So just delete Mo's branch. Just do KEN-4 uppercase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, KEN dash 4. Yeah. And remember, before you do that, in the very beginning, do feature slash because what you're doing is a feature. There are different types of branches. There's like the release branch, right? For
Mhm.
releases, there's hot fixes. So we can distinguish very clearly, like, hey, this is a release branch. Don't mess with it, right? Because that's going to be pushed to an artifactory or some sort of artifact server. No, no, no. So it's feature feature slash yeah confor. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought that you wanted me to specify what I was doing on a feature.
Mm. So that will be in each of your commits. When you commit onto the branch, you specify what you're doing, and in the PR. So when you're going to create a pull request to merge your changes back into develop, um, you're going to say in the pull request, like in the title, like what you're doing, and
Got
so those are all like little like breadcrumbs for us developers to figure out exactly what happened if we do end up going back to your code.
Okay.
Yep.
We will rename. All right.
Cool. Cool.
It
Okay.
it doesn't reflect here, but oh, there it is. All right, cool.
Yeah. And is this IntelliJ or
Yeah, it's IntelliJ. It's the version that you sent me.
yes, yeah, it's the
But
IntelliJ used to look very different. They updated it to look like VS Code recently, and I've been having a hard time distinguishing between the two. So that's why I was just asking was all.
oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, go for it. Show me what you got. Kind of run me through it, and we can go from there.
Okay. Let me just pull up my notes here. One moment. Uh, let me see here. So let's see here. Let me just go down, down, down. Um, so so what I did in my other project was I created a package. And
Hmm.
and I apologize if I'm being a little broad. Again, this is my first time doing this, but how I was able to return JSON in my previous project was I created a package. I created some constructors, some getters and setters, some two strings. I configured the main file, and then I went into the local host 8080, and I was able to see the JSON that was created.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the only issue that I'm having here with trying to figure out how to do it, I guess, is the file structure is so different that I'm looking at all of these different folders and I'm having a hard time trying to distinguish and figure out.
So let me give you a rundown again, real quick. Remember, the advice class is if a error occurs. So see, like how on line number 42 of your current file, we throw an exception. Like if the store name is invalid, we're throwing an exception, right?
Uh-huh,
The advice class will catch it and will say, okay, this exception translates to, let's just say, for example, a 404. And so then it will turn anytime, anywhere we throw a certain exception, the advice class will know how to turn that exception into its corresponding status code and exactly what to return, like an error JSON to the end user. The configuration class is the class where it's like when we first started up. You don't have to worry too much about it now, but when we first started up, let's just say, for example, if you have certain types of configurations, like you want to say, hey, if anyone sends a request and it takes more than, let's say, 1,000 milliseconds, then we want to make sure that it fails, right? So anything like that, like a configuration,
mhm.
then we set it in there. For now, don't worry about it, but later on, for very specific things, we can take a look. For the next thing, the controller class. The controller class obviously is where you store all the endpoints. None of the very deep logic, just validation that you received all the information you want and that your endpoint has all of the items that has the path to the endpoint that you want. So slash
So the
storage. Hmm?
so basically, it handles all the HTTP requests and defines the endpoints.
That's right. Yes, and does very basic validation, like, hey, this thing can't be null or that thing can't be null, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And the next one is dependencies. Dependencies are just kind of like a miscellaneous class. So, like for example, I use it to store a static constants that never change. So, for example, you can see like when we're hitting card cache, that URL that card cache uses never changes, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's in our dependencies in a constant Java folder. Next thing is the exceptions folder. And if I'm being honest, you could put the exceptions in the advice folder because advice, what does they do? It catches all the exceptions, right? And
Mhm.
so, for that one at least, you basically list all the specific kinds of exceptions that you can throw. And so, go back into advice real quick. The very first one, the very first folder. No, no,
Oh,
under the folders.
sorry, you were cutting in and out. What did you say?
Oh, I said go under the advice folder real quick.
Located.
Right under your mouse right now. Advice.
Oh, here.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
So you can see like we currently catch two types of exceptions: bad request exception and store not found exception. Right? Do you see those two on line 17 and line 25?
Oh, 17 and 25. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see that those exceptions were created under the exception folder. Do you see that
The exception folder.
to your left? Like, do you see? Yeah, yeah, right there. See how we created those two exceptions? So
Mhm.
we created those two exceptions, and we told the advice thing like, hey, if if those two exceptions are ever thrown, then you can see on line number like 21, for example, if a bad request exception is ever thrown, then return a HTTP status of bad request, which is a 401, right? Or if
Mm,
you're line 29 and line 25, then if a store not found exception is ever thrown, then go to line 29 and throw a 404, which is a not found exception.
okay,
Yeah.
got
So
it.
that's another thing. And next thing is model. If you look at the model folder, that's how you know exactly what your JSON is going to look like. So all your DTOs, right? So for example, in this class, this is the exchange rate DTO. So when we return this, a JSON uh, will hold a string of a store name, a double of of something called percentage, an integer of min limit and max limit, so two integers, and a string of gift card image, right? So stuff like that. Um, sort of makes sense so far, yes?
Yes, and I remember we got that from the API documentation, didn't we?
Yep, that's right. And also, you can create your own APIs that way as well. And the last one is a service class, which handles all the hard work. Look at the service folder, and that's where all the hard work is done for all the logic behind how your endpoints work, right?
Okay.
Yes. So hopefully that's a uh, yeah, that should be.
Yeah, it's a good consensus on just what's going on here because it can, as mentioned, it can just be quite overwhelming trying to figure out how it all comes together. So even though it's repetitive, thank you for explaining that again.
Yeah, no worries. It just takes a little bit of time. Like I can recite this from heart, right? Because I deal with this like every day. But once you deal with it enough, you'll be like, oh, I know where this comes from. These are somewhat similar to like, for example, like the reason why I don't like JavaScript is because they have things that are very, very broad, like an interceptor. An interceptor could do a variety of things. So um, this is just a lot more structured, in my opinion. But anyways, that kind of gives you a brief overview. There's a lot more other types of classes that you're going to learn about later, like repositories, sorry, entity classes, um, stuff like that. But don't worry about that for now. We'll just finish up this part and maybe we'll touch on some basic databases today. But that's a reach. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's foresee. Let's run your project and let me know what your problem is so far, and maybe we can fix those.
Okay, you want me to pull up the project that I did?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on your branch right now, right? So you have all your changes, isn't that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, when
Mm.
I said that I created an endpoint that returned JSON file, it was as mentioned, it wasn't in here. It was in a complete like I did my own separate Spring Boot project because I'm trying to learn the ins and outs of Spring Boot, like I said. And in that project, I was able to return JSON. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do it here and just struggling really hard. Um, hmm,
Hi everyone. I just wanted to say hi. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Yeah, sorry for coming in late, but yeah.
no worries, no worries. Right now, actually, Gene, Mo's, we're debugging Mo's project right now as well. So as soon as we're done with Mo's, maybe we can work with yours, and if you can kind of follow along. So if Mo ever happened to hit any questions that you might have, then that might also answer your questions as well. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Go ahead, Mo. Sorry about that.
Um, so yeah, I'm not really sure um what the next step is to do this.
Sure. Why don't you? Because I have no idea what you did. Give me a brief overview of what you did so far, so I can get caught up with what you've done so far, and I know how to continue helping me out. It's because like for example, like you're coming to a doctor's office, and you're like, I'm sick. Well, I'm gonna need a little bit more context clues. you
Yeah,
know. So
fair. So the tutorial that I watched, basically I created like a
is it this
sorry.
file or which? Yeah. Why don't you open up the specific project you're working on, and we can go from
Okay,
there.
let me get out of here and then I'll pull it up and then
I wouldn't do that for the student.java, but that's okay.
So again, I don't even know if I did it right, because what you said I was supposed to do is create an endpoint that returns the JSON file. I just created an endpoint that returned JSON. It wasn't a file. Like, I created it not dynamically but manually, and then
Sure.
and then
Could
I
you
cloned.
scroll up real quick?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Scroll up. Keep scrolling up. Keep scrolling up. Okay. Good. Good. Scroll all the way down real quick for me. Wait. Scroll all the way up real quick. Sorry. One moment. Do you have Lombok installed?
I do not have Lombok installed. Not that is not a dependency that I have.
Oh. Okay. So since you are working on a dependency, double click on pom.xml. It's all the way down. It's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there you go. And so go under your web browser and search up Lombok, Lombok, Maven import. Yeah, Lombok Maven, that's fine too. Yeah, either one's fine. And it should be the first. It's usually the first one. No, not that one. The second one. Click on
Okay.
Maven repository dot. It's usually on that website. Yeah. And so go ahead and click on the latest one, 1.18.32, because the other ones may have vulnerabilities. You don't know, right? You always want the latest version if you can. Okay, and unclick the include comment with link to declaration, just so we can clean it up, because they like to add little comments here, like, "Hey, look, you got it from this website." I don't care about that, right? Okay, copy that. What's in that box?
Oops. Sorry.
Oh, good, no worries.
Okay, copy, and then I can go back here.
Yes.
Oh, that's a cool thing. You learn something new every day. Okay, so
and then under the dependencies, so do you see like after line 32? Yeah, so you could put it anywhere in there. Go ahead and under dependencies.
It's right here, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and paste that in. So do you know HTML at all?
Yeah.
So it's the same idea, right? So between line 32 and line 68, do you see how like those are where all your dependencies go? So as long as you stick it somewhere in between there, then you're all good. And then on your upper right hand corner, or somewhat almost upper right hand corner, do you see that little M with a refresh button?
I see this M.
No, to your left a little bit, like 3 centimeters to your left, and up like 1 centimeter. Yeah, click on that, and that will upload the changes that you've made so far. It will download Maven right afterwards. So now all of a sudden, now you have Maven. See, just like that. Yes. And so now go back to student.java.
Okay.
At the very top on line 4, click enter, or hit. Give me one extra line, just so it doesn't like log. Hit do at capital D and then ATA, so at data. No. It's capital D and then the rest is uppercase, I think. Should be.
You said capital D and then
ATA. Yeah, I think data is capitalized, but no. It's just only the D is capitalized, I think. Let me double check. Give me a minute. For me, it's automatic. I'm not sure why it's not appearing automatic for you.
Yeah, it appears that that's right. Wait, no,
okay.
It's not.
Data. Okay, give me a minute here. Sir, one moment. I got to open up my project, and I can let you know. But now that you've imported Maven, it should automatically catch on. Just one moment though. Let me pull up my project and I'll let you know. Documents. Come on.
I think it's uppercase D, and the rest of the rest
is undercase. Yeah. That's right. So I'll ping you, Mo. Give me a minute here. It looks like this. Oh, whoops, sorry. I just pinged you on Slack. It's the latest one, the bottom one.
Oh, okay.
And also, Jason. So I was watching the recorded video on YouTube when that you posted on YouTube.
Yeah, Mo
And
told me it's showing your screen instead of mine, and it's really hard to see, right?
It's
Yeah.
really
Sorry
hard
about
to.
that. I had no idea. It's the first time I'm using Jitsi to record, so I'm
Okay.
still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
Capital D, and then the rest is lowercase. Yeah. And hover over it. It should appear theoretically. Yeah, import class. See that? There
Yep.
you go. And and then after that, you're gonna type in at all args constructor, at no args constructor, and yeah.
So when I use these annotations, they're case sensitive, right?
Yes, they are, but you don't have to worry about it because hypothetically, if everything was imported, it should autofill for you. Like at least on my ID, it does. I'm not sure why it's strange. Oh wait. And then do at no args constructor. Don't worry about that for now. I think it's because you already have constructor, so it's freaking out. And then we can hover over it to take a look as well.
Was there another args constructor I was supposed to
Yeah,
do?
no args constructor. Okay, hover over that real quick. I'm kind of curious why it's freaking out. Constructor without parameter. Okay, yeah. So where you? Yeah, exactly. So go to look line 22 to 24. That is literally what line 11 does for you. So you don't have to worry about that. So you
Okay.
can delete your line 24 to 21.
You said 24 to 21?
Yeah. Do you see how that's a constructor that has no arguments, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what line 11 does for you, right? And line 25 to line 35, you can see that's what all args constructor line 10 does for you.
So get rid of this as well.
Yep, that's right.
Interesting.
And yeah, you can leave line 24 because that has custom args, right? I'm not sure if you use it. And then afterwards, line 38 through all the way down, all the getters and setters, those are automatically created for you in the at data class, remember? So you can delete all that.
So literally all this?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, even the two strings, got it.
Wait. Leave, scroll all the way down real quick. Leave line 88, because 88 is the closing bracket for your entire class, right? So for everything else, yes. And the two string should already be created by Spring, ideally, so you don't have to worry about that. And you shouldn't be doing a two string, because Spring will automatically convert it to a string for you. So go back to your student controller real quick. So notice how your class looks a lot more clean, right? Instead of all that other constructors and BS, it's just hey, that one very, very niche constructor that you have and all the variables. It's very easy to read, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have a controller yet, do you?
No, not yet.
Okay, so what were you thinking about making? Let's put it that way.
I was just honestly following along to a video trying to make sense of it all.
Okay.
And we got to the part where of the architecture, he was saying that you need the API layer, you need the service layer, and then you need the data access layer to make it all come together.
Right.
And the whole point of this was just to, do the REST APIs in Spring. That's what I was trying to get familiarity with doing so that I could take that knowledge and apply it to this project
Gotcha. Why don't we do this? We can do, because for the sake of time here, and because Gene also has a question, we're going to make a very, very simple program. Why don't we have one where if you go to localhost 8080, so go to open up a notepad real quick. And could you open up student.java as well on the side? So it's one's on your left and one's on your right.
Yeah. Is just like this, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And go to student.java real quick, because I want to see what's inside there. Very cool. go to your notepad again real quick. Sorry. Okay. So assuming that we hit a post endpoint, POST, post endpoint for localhost 8080. I mean space. Yeah. Yeah. Go to localhost 8080 slash API slash v1 slash student.
Okay. Let me go here. And then slash
Slash API v1 slash student slash create student or slash create. We'll just do slash create. So assuming that we do, and then question mark, and then question mark, and then go back to your student.java real quick. And then we'll just do name string. We'll remove the date of birth because that can get really tricky because there's so many different types of dates that you can set. So we'll just remove that.
remove it here.
Name, email, age. Yeah, so we can remove that part too. Yep. And so in your name, email, age, right. So then go back to the thing real quick. To your web browser. So name. So name equals mo. The ampersand and email. No, not that. Ampersand. So and on the 7 key.
Yeah.
Yeah. And name equal or sorry, email equals like example.com. And what was that last thing that was there? It was
Let me see.
age, yeah, and age equals like put like 10 or something. It doesn't matter, just some random age. It's a and, not the equal. Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, so let's make this endpoint work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go back to your controller class. All right. Tell me what you think should happen here. I'm gonna hand it off to you. Don't use ChatGPT. Take a look at the existing project we have,
Yeah,
and try to figure it out.
I think that the URL that we created in the local host should go here in the path for the request mapping. Yeah.
So let me put it this way. Let's just say, for example, I'll give it. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I should have been more clear about this a little earlier, just so it wasn't confusing. But so this is my bad. But for right now, if I put, you can see my screen, right? If I go to /store list, then what's going to happen is basically I have to go to local host 8080 /store list, right? And if I want to hit this other endpoint /store percentage, right? Then I have to go to hit localhost 8080 store percentage, right? The problem with that is, what if I want to do something like this? I want to do something like /API /v1 /store list, API /v1 /store percentage. Then it looks really ugly because I have to add this everywhere, right? So what can I do? I can just go like this. I can put this at the very top, and I say, hey, at request mapping /AP API /v1, And so then what this means is that every single endpoint down here will first have this. So now it's API v1 store list, API v1 store percentage, API v1 generate card cache session. Does that kind of make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, now that you understand that part, go ahead and continue.
Okay. See
And feel
here.
free to look at our code too that we've already made on existing, right? Because that has like a lot of helpful hints, and that should tell you kind of like the logic behind it.
Okay. In IntelliJ, am I able to pull up a? I'm sure I can, but I've just never needed
Yeah.
to.
So over here, first, you click File, click Open, and then select the project that we've made so far. I don't know where it is that you downloaded it. Um,
Oh, it should be in desktop.
wait, cancel. But you would click New Window over there if you did select the right folder.
UnderDog does arbitrage.
Right. So click that. All right. Click Open. And click New Window. No, not this window. New window. Yeah. And so now you have both of those windows open.
Yeah.
Yes. So remember, go into our controller class.
Right here.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, kind of try to pick out the logic behind there and implement it into your project. And you can do a side by side. So put my project on the right side of your screen and put your project on the left side of the screen. That way you can kind of compare it side by side and see what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So So we definitely want to implement the Git mapping. And
We're doing a post mapping because we're not getting a student. We're creating new students, so we're posting them.
yeah, post mapping. And so in the URL that we created, we had sorry, we have what I want to create a Git, sorry, not a Git, but a post for student, for email, for ID. Like, is that how I want to go about it?
Yeah, so go into your class and do and create a new method first, right? Because that's the first step.
Would it be in this file?
Yeah, so go in between line 8 and 9, right? That's where your class is, and create a new method.
I have an idea of what.
Yeah. What's up, Gene?
So, given that we are creating a post request,
Yes.
aren't we supposed to create an object for the student inside the method that's inside the student controller class?
Yes, I normally would, but in this case, because just for the sake of brevity, I'm just putting it as a parameter, just so she knows how to convert a parameter into a JSON. But Gene, you would normally be absolutely right. But yes. All right, go ahead, Mo.
Here. So it would be post mapping.
Yes, that's right. So go for that. Try that out. That's right. And inside the post mapping, check. Oh,
Oh, why?
because you have it highlighted. That's why. Yeah. And inside there, you're gonna put a string, right? So what string are you gonna put?
One of the parameters that I specified in the URL, I can't recall it. It was
No, not quite yet. Not quite yet. The post mapping just tells you what URL you're hitting. And so right
oh,
now you have API v1 student already. So what else do you need to use? Take a look at your URL before you keep going.
um,
Go back to your browser. Yep. Okay.
API v1.
Yes, but you already have that at the very top. Remember, you had API v1 already,
So I wanted to
and you
create.
already have. So no, so you already have API v1 and student. The name, email, and age is a parameter. You never put that in. I'll show you where to put that in later. You just put in create, right? Because you already have API v1 and student. Because take a look, your URL really right now is just API v1 student create. Do you see that? So
Can you
yeah,
repeat that? Sorry.
yeah. So on line 8, do you see where it says API v1 student?
Yeah.
So on your URL in your browser, you already have API v1 student, right?
Yes.
Right. So the only other thing you're missing is create. No. But the thing is, you don't want
Oh, in
every
the
single endpoint.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now, this is just one method that creates a student, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. And put that in quotes. And one more thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken, but you have two slashes, right? You have one ending on line 8 and one on line 10. So you'll want to keep one. Yeah. And now after line 10, that's great. You created an endpoint, but you need to tell it what to return and all the logic behind it, right? So create a method for it. No, you're not creating a class. You already have a class, right? You're under the student controller class. You just want to create a method that tells that tells it what to do.
Yeah, so like, you create a method like create students, a method like that.
Yeah.
So you say like public create students.
Yeah. Public. Thank you.
Remember, you have an example on your right side, right? So you can kind of steal what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
That's perfect. The only problem with it is that you have public and you have the method name create student, but what does it return, right? So you have to return a JSON object, and you already created a JSON object, so you have to put it in. Where do you put that in?
When I have to create parentheses for this and stick it in there.
No. So in the basics of Java, you have to remember when you're creating a method in Java, you have to specify if it's public, protected, or public. So you already have, public, protected, or private. You already have that, and then you have to tell it what to return. So type in public. That's fine.
Okay.
And then what are you returning on this endpoint? What kind of object are you returning? You're returning a what object? A student object, right?
Student object, yeah.
Yeah, because you just created student, so that's where you're returning to the user. So type in public student, capital S, because your student.java has capital S. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the syntax, right?
Yeah. Remember, you can always reference the right side. That's where I give you all these examples, right?
Yeah.
So then
now I do this.
Create student. That's right. But take a look at line. I'm going to challenge you. Take a look at line 40, okay, and see how you can use line 40 to take in the name, the email, and the age of your current student. See if you can figure that out.
So, okay, if I'm trying to mimic this and model it after this to accomplish that, then I would keep this public. I would keep
that part's fine. Just inside the brackets of create student. So on line 12, inside those two parentheses that has nothing. Inside line 12, line 12.
Yeah.
On your project, do you see how like it's empty? Yeah. What do you put in there, right? Because right now we want to take in three things. We want to take in the name, we want to take in the email, and we want to take in the age, right? Take a look at your URL.
Yeah.
Your URL
So
after create and the question mark, you're taking in three things, aren't you?
yeah, the name, the email, and the age.
Right.
So
So take a look at line 40 on my project and see how you would use that logic to take in the name, the email, and the age.
so I would literally just say equals no.
Not quite. Be very careful. Look very carefully at how I did it. Not quite. What is that inside of?
Oh, it's in a request brand.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your patience.
No worries.
I'm such a newbie.
I feel you more.
And take a look at how I did it. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
sorry, not value. It would actually be.
It is value. It is value. No. It is value.
Oh, it is value. Okay.
Yes.
And then the value would be no.
Oh, and don't squish it together. Add some spaces, right? So notice how I did it. It makes it much easier on the eyes. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know you could do that. Okay.
Oh, good.
Would I say no?
Take a look at your URL. Take a look at what you're taking in.
So here you're saying value equals.
Because for my project, we're taking in a store name, but for your project, because you're dealing with students, not stores, you're taking in a student, right?
Yeah. So could I say value equals name equals mode? Is that?
No. Just put in value equals name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then afterwards, first of all, import the class so it stops freaking out for the request param. No, just hover over it. You don't have to click anything. Takes a minute. Yeah, and click import class. Perfect. And right afterwards, take a look at what I did. Scroll to the right a little bit. I know it's hard to tell for my project. To the right.
My right.
Yeah, you have to scroll to the right because I wrote more stuff afterwards, but it's just off the screen a little bit. Yeah. And take a look at what I did. What did I do afterwards?
You did. So after you did request param value, you did string store name.
Yeah, but what would you call yours? Probably
I would say string student.
string name because you're taking in a string of a name, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's literally the same name as the value. Duh.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Good lord, I'm bad at this.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
So I would say. Let's say.
Okay, so let's just stop there before you keep on going. What do you think this function does so far? Because I want to make sure you understand what's going on, like in depth. Because I don't want you just copying my code and being like, oh, I can copy Jason's code. Like, I won't be here forever, you know, right? So I want you to like fully understand exactly how this works.
So essentially, what I'm doing, the end goal is to generate the JSON, and we're basically doing that.
Let's break it step by step. Let's do this. Let's start with line 11. Let's start with line 9. What does line 9 do?
So line 9 is basically creating the URL that's going to be that is going to be showing the JSON.
No, it's the URL that you're going to use in the very beginning of the of all the URLs that you're going to hit, right? So notice your URL is API v1 student, right? And so every single post or get mapping or whatever inside your class is going to be under that URL. It's going to start with API v1 student, right?
Okay.
Right. Please let me know if that doesn't make sense because I want to make sure you understand it.
Um, could you elaborate a little bit more on how
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
exactly?
yeah. So let me share my screen again real quick. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So right here, I have a request mapping slash API v1. Right?
Uh-huh.
See this?
Yeah.
And afterwards, I have three different in this class that I just put this under. I have three different endpoints. I have store list, store percentage, and generate card cache session. You see those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what this means is that, hey, under this endpoint, I would go localhost 8080 slash API slash v1, right? So this is the very beginning. And then if I want to hit this endpoint, then I do slash store list. If I want
Mm-hmm.
to hit this endpoint, I would do slash store percentage. If I want to hit this endpoint, then I would hit slash store generate card cache session. But notice the API v1 always sticks around. Why? Because I said for any of the endpoints in this class, always start with this endpoint.
I see.
Yes.
So that's the main endpoint, and then the others are the more like specified endpoints pertaining to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You can think of it as kind of like a prefix kind of situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's essentially what we're doing and how that works. I feel bad for taking up all of the time. If you wanna, did you want to put a pin in this and move
No,
on?
no, it's okay because you need to know this, and the fact of the matter is, if you don't know it, more than likely other people also don't know it, and
Yeah.
so I can keep on joining on and talking about like what I know and the more advanced features of Spring, right? But if you don't understand this and other people don't understand this, then we shouldn't be talking about like advanced database queries, right? And that wouldn't be fair. So I want to make sure we get this done first. You're not wasting anyone's time, right? And in the video later on, we'll record this. They can skip through it. Hell, they can save time if they want, if they already know all this, right? We want to make sure that everyone is on board and everyone understands before I keep on going on other stuff. Because if I'm being honest, this project that I have going on here, I don't want to brag or anything, but I can get it done in a day, right? It's not a problem for me. It's mainly for you guys, right? And I want to make sure that all of you understand what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yes, okay. So we have line 9. We kind of went through that. So what does line 11 do?
Um, so line 11 is basically, so you know how we were talking about how we have the main URL and then slash, and then we have the others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, create is almost like a, at least to me anyway, it's not, I'm having a hard time articulating this. It's not like
I think you're overthinking it. It's just like the prefix and the suffix of the URL,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all you have to think about it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically like another suffix.
Yes, that's right. And okay, line 13. Do you know what public does?
Yeah, it's a keyword that's required for the classes to be enabled. There are four other ones. There's the public, there's the private, there's the default, and then I think there's a fourth one that I can't think of right now.
Protected, but yes, that's
Protected.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and what does student do? What is that?
That's just the name of the method that we're creating.
No.
Well, no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's the It's not that create students. I think is student is the object that we created. It's the instance of the class
That's
that
right.
we're. Yeah.
And so you were overthinking, like, hey, I have to turn into a JSON. Don't worry about it. Just give Spring the word, the object type student, and Spring will turn into a JSON for you. You never have to worry about it. That's what makes Spring so beautiful. And we'll see how that works in a little bit. All right. What does request param do?
Um. request param, it basically takes in the values of the parameters that you're trying to get in the URL.
Okay, so show me where that is in the URL. Why don't you highlight it for me and show me?
It's just right here. It's the name right here
Perfect.
because that's the value that we gave it. So
Okay. And what does the last name do? Why is there a string name there? What's the difference between the two?
I'm guessing that I'm assuming that you have to specify the data type of this name in order for it to work. Like that, I'm guessing that's just like a syntax, a parameter that's required in order for this
Sort
to work.
of. That's one way of thinking about it, but the more correct way is this. When we type in string name, we're basically just creating a method, right? And Spring knows that hey, there's a string that's supposed to go here, but we don't know what that variable should be equal to. In this case, it should be equal to mo, right? So when you put in request param, basically you're telling Spring, hey, I have a string here. It's called name, but I don't know what should go there. You can even call it like it's name one, for example, string name one, right? So what should go in string in this variable called name? Well, when you put request param, basically it means like, hey, go into the URL and find a parameter called name, grab whatever's in there and inject it into the string name. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Can I share my screen again just to make it very clear what's going on? Is that
Yeah,
cool?
of course. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen. And so over here, okay, let's just say we call it ABCD123, right? And so that's great and all. So let's just say I go ahead and I'm going to remove this part just because it was never there. But let's just say I go to this URL. Pretend this is I don't even need to pretend. I can just go here. I'm going to go to Google Chrome and I go to localhost 8080 slash store percentage. Uh, and then afterwards, question mark store name equals Paxson, right? So what happens is, okay, I went to slash store percentage and Spring's like, oh, very cool. We're going to start running this method right here, right? So it's going to go here and the program's going to run, and it's going to run to this situation. And it's going to be like, okay, we have a variable called ABCD123, but I have no idea what ABCD123 should be equal to, right? So then I put in this little annotation called request param. And what request param does is says, hey, Spring, go back to the URL, go back to slash store percentage and look for store name. Look for the store name. And whatever its store name is, inject it inside of this inside this string, ABCD123. So now
I
Spring says,
see.
okay, I'm going to go to the URL. I'm going to look for store name. And what is it equal to? It's equal to Paxson. Oh, very cool. So now Spring's going to do is going to say, hey, ABCD123, this is now going to be equal to Paxson. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's like on a low level how it works. Yeah, hopefully that kind of explains it.
Yeah.
Um, all right. All right. So now that we have that part explained, why don't we go ahead and we keep going? So it's great. You have name, but you have two
Oh,
other
just
things,
so
right?
you know, on the screen, is there
Mhm.
any way that you can make my screen bigger?
Oh, do you want to stop sharing your screen and then reshare? And hopefully that will put you back on the main side,
Yeah.
main thing.
Okay.
Is
Right
your
now.
screen is it full size now or no?
No. I think it may be because it's the four of us.
Let me see if I can pin this. Hmm. Is it still not full size yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, I hate this. This is horrible. There's a way to do it. I know that. Okay, how about now?
No, not quite yet.
Can you pin your screen? Is that like a possibility?
You said pin it?